Okay. Well, welcome. My name is Briana McWilliam, and I am very excited and grateful to Lonnie here, who has graciously offered to share her question and exploration with us on this call here together. And so, Lonnie, I'm just going to start by kind of summarizing your question, and I invite you to just interrupt me or add anything to this if you feel like you want to clarify things. So in your question, you had mentioned that you had dated someone for about 8 years, and this person had cheated on you multiple times as well as lied to you. And in the past 2.5 years, you've been in an on and off kind of seeing each other as friends, but you feel like you're struggling to kind of move on from the relationship. There is a desire to let go of that relationship, but you know that there's a part of you that's kind of waiting for him to come back. And you mentioned that you want to give yourself the freedom to move on from that and to feel more comfortable with the uncertainty of the future. Thank you. And you mentioned you are aware of a fear of rejection. But there's a part of you that wonders if maybe I just want him to want me and not necessarily wanting the reality of actually having him back, right? Which is a very insightful thing to be aware of. And you're interested in looking at practical steps to move forward, and also if there's anything that you may not be seeing about the situation. Is that about right, would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like there's a disconnect between my cognitive knowing, and my heart.
Yeah.
And just trying to get them aligned.
Sure.
What I've been trying to do.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that I wanted to maybe touch upon, and we'll kind of do a little exploratory activity. We are going to do something a little experiential together to kind of move from the head into the body. But first, I want to maybe talk a little bit about the attraction, like the sensation of the attraction that you have. And then we'll dive into something a little more hands-on. So one thing I wanted to maybe mention is that attraction can be stimulated by a couple different things. So sometimes it's stimulated when we have when we see in someone else, whether it is conscious or unconscious, aspects that we have suppressed within ourselves for whatever reason. So that's one thing. In addition to, sometimes layered on top of that, or sometimes aside from that, we have attachment anxiety, which is that the person has, our instinctual survival system has identified this person as necessary to our survival on some level. And so we feel a pull to be in close proximity to them, right? And that can override any kind of cognitive insight, awareness, or knowledge of what is good or bad for us, because on an unconscious level, on an instinctual level, we just believe that they're necessary to us, to our survival. So is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions to kind of suss this out a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. And do I have permission to be direct with you in this conversation? Okay. And are you willing to listen to and consider ideas or processes that you may not have considered before?
Absolutely. That's what I'm here.
Okay. So I'd like to ask you, what do you feel attracted you to this person in the first place?
I was coming out of a marriage that was very disconnected and had not felt love, excitement, cared about, prioritized, like all of these things, special, important, and he made me feel all like, it was like all those feelings were dead inside of me, and then all of a sudden they were awoken again. And it was like, oh yeah, I can feel like this. I do feel, these different ways. Wow.
What was it about him that stimulated those feelings, would you say?
He paid attention to me. He was really interested in learning about me, what I, everything about me, and just was very kind and thoughtful,
Mhm.
and did lots of nice things for me,
Mhm.
that nobody had ever done before.
Sure. And so this is something that I think is really important to be aware of is when we enter into relationships, are we entering into the relationship because of the way they make us feel about ourselves? Or are we entering into the relationship because of what we observe of their character? Right. So you mentioned a couple things that speak to character, consideration, being attentive. Are there any other things any other adjectives that you might use to describe his character?
He's really giving and generous,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that really attractive.
Mm-hmm.
He just is, he's very generous with his time and, helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What does he do for himself?
nothing.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed there was sort of a downturn of your mouth right there when you were like, nothing. So I'm just wondering so there's another side to this, right? So what's the other side that you're seeing that makes you feel like, I think I need to break free of this, even though it's difficult.
The other side is, that I feel, a lot of times like I'm being manipulated or lied to.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a relationship with another woman while we were dating that went on for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't trust him. And, so it's like, it's in my mind, it's hard for me to put those two people together because it's like the person that I know and then the person that he is when he's not with me, kind of. And it's like they're two different people in my mind rather than one cohesive person.
So this might be an area where I might be able to help you see something that it's hard to see. And that is, he's the same person. He's the person who's looking for attention by giving it. Right. And this may be part of the wound that maybe it draws you two together, because a lot of what you described, what you liked about him was the attention he gave you.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this need for attention and validation and to feel special. Right. And so he's doing the same thing. He's looking for a need for attention, validation to feel special. Right.
Yes.
And we have, just generally speaking, we have a tendency to give what we want to receive. And that's okay. It's okay. As long as the boundaries are clear, right? As long as there's trust, as long as, we are living up to the promises spoken and unspoken that we're making to each other, right?
Right.
So it seems as though those needs and those desires are not quite matching up, because perhaps your desire in now entering into a relationship has grown. The things that you need now perhaps have grown beyond attention and validation, and now you need other dimensions of compatibility for something long-term, loving and trusting and committed.
Yes.
Would you say that's correct? Okay. So oftentimes when you become aware of that need and you're like, I'm not going to accept being cheated on, I'm not going to accept being lied to, not even for the attention and validation I might get if I continue to engage with this person, right? But then there will be a part that says, oh, but we need him to survive.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, it's almost like a tree kind of growing around its knots in a way. Those knots are sort of like the inner child or a younger part of us, or the part that was neglected in a longer marriage that says, oh, but we're going to lose that part of ourselves if we let this go, And so you mentioned looking for practical steps or, way to move forward in coping with that. So what I'd like to do is have a conversation with that part, because we still have the rest of the tree growing. So this is the part of you that is insightful. This is the part of you that is aware. This is the part of you that's like, I'm going to draw boundaries with this, right? And then the knots, or the inner children inside of us, are like, no, but don't leave them behind. So what I'd like to do maybe is play with maybe parceling out some of these parts and having a conversation with them a little more creatively. Um, and so I believe you had gathered some markers and paper there, yes? Okay. So I'm going to be drawing from internal family systems theory to play with this. And basically what that means is, have you heard the term inner child before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So inner child, the wounded inner child was a concept that was introduced by John Bradshaw. And it was really a wonderful concept because it allowed us to personify like what's going on inside us. Then Robert Schwartz developed internal family systems theory. And this is the idea that not only do we have an inner child, but we also have other parts inside of us. So there will be a part that's protecting that inner child. And then there will be a part that when the inner child throws a tantrum, so to speak, swoops in and tries to save the day by distracting, dousing, or distancing us from the angst the inner child is feeling. So we call these protector parts. And so when you feel that, oh, but I'm not going to survive without him, but I need him in my life, right? This will be kind of like the inner child feeling that sense of fear of abandonment, right? And then the manager part will say, he's a liar, he's not upfront, he's manipulating us, we're not going near that, right? And let's say in a moment of weakness, you're like, oh, but I'm going to text him because I just need to feel that connection, right? You're smiling, this might have happened before. Yeah. So then that's sort of like what they call the firefighter, but saying, oh, but we need to go in and quell that feeling. Let's say he doesn't respond for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and now you're starting to feel really embarrassed. Like, I knew it. It's probably with that other woman, yada yada. Then the inner child's out again, and there's the embarrassment and the shame. And it's like, I'm gonna go do something to alleviate that feeling, whether it's sitting in front of the TV and eating a bucket of ice cream, whether it's I'm going to go swiping on Tinder and just go out drinking with my friend, like whatever it is, right? So it becomes kind of a cycle, and it's these different parts in conversation with each other, and they're all trying to make sense of an inflamed nervous system, which is like looking for him, right? And weaving stories around the energy that gets stimulated when the nervous system is in this kind of uproar, like feeling a sense of threat to your attachment system. So what is that? So therefore, what's the way out of it? Well, first, calming the nervous system when you're feeling that kind of trigger, so to speak, when you're feeling that sense of stimulation. And breathing exercises are a good way to just instantly do that. Finding something support to lean against, whether it's a chair, just sitting on the floor and leaning your back against the wall, taking a breath, noticing the thoughts going through your mind. This is a process of trying to create spaciousness around that experience. Developing a safe place. So this we would do through meditation, cultivating an image of a safe place and going there, using it as a body resource. But one other way we can do this is through having a conversation creatively with these parts. And that's what I'd like us to do here together, because I think that's fun. So we're going to create a triangulation. So on your page, I would invite you to draw a triangle. It doesn't have to be too big, maybe just the size of your palm. I'm going to have you draw a triangle there.
It's like you're in my head, by the way.
What did you say?
I said, it's like you're in my head, like nailed it, everything. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that resonates with you. Well,
very much.
Yeah. So on this triangle, each point is going to represent a different personality, let's say, subpersonality, voice that exists inside you. So let's say on the bottom right, we will have the manager. So this will be the part that says he's no good for us. We're not going there. This will be the part that's trying to protect the aspect of you that doesn't want to be hurt, right? And you can represent this any way you want. Could be colors, could be shape, could be a scribble, stick figure, however you want to represent this. This voice is likely to be a little punitive too. Like, I should be over this already. I know better, right? And across from that, along the base of the triangle, we're going to have, this is where we're going to have the part that feels the pull, the part that feels like, but I need him. The part that feels like, but I miss the attention, but I want that connection. And maybe even feels a little bit ashamed about it, right? So this is the sort of soft, vulnerable part that is in many ways powerful, right? Because it's causing all this ruckus inside of you. But equally, maybe paradoxically, is also very soft and vulnerable and jelly, right? And so however you want to represent that, I invite you to draw that there, whether inside or outside, whatever feels comfortable for you.
Okay.
All right. Now at the top of the triangle, we're going to draw a representation of what I'm going to refer to as like your spiritual self, your higher self. This your higher knowing. This was the part of you that is connected to a larger energy field that is able to find spaciousness and take a step back and observe the conversation going on between these two aspects, right? This is a part that's not so concerned about worldly attachments, so to speak, because it understands your existence in its entirety. And it sees you as a never-ending ball of light, love, and compassion, expression of love itself. This is the part that needs no attention or validation for knowing its own worth, if that makes sense. And however you might represent that, I would put that at the top. Now, what I invite you to do is we're going to explore the perspective of each character here. And I might ask you to close your eyes, and I'll do it with you. And to just take a breath and to allow yourself to sink a little heavier in your seat. And you might notice the contact between your feet and the floor. And you're just going to notice the rhythm of your breath and become aware of the fact that when you inhale, there's a spaciousness created inside. Your lungs expand, your ribs expand, your heart opens up with every breath. You are becoming more deeply connected to all that is. And we're going to open up the crown and invite any energy that has escaped above your head back down into your body to really be present in this moment. And you might even imagine some roots extending from the soles of your feet down through the floorboards of your home, down through the layers of rock and crust and soil, all the way down, down, down to the earth's molten core. And Mother Earth is there, and she's so happy you came. She's been waiting for you, and she takes your roots and she wraps them around that core. And on your next inhalation, you're going to pull up all that you need, all the nourishment that you require, all the attention, all the validation, all the reassurance. It's going to come right up those roots, and it's going to spill into your feet. It's going to fill you all the way up to your sacral, to your hips, into your lower belly, really grounding you in this present moment, really holding you with a loving embrace. And on your next breath, we're going to pull some of that up into your heart space, just letting the breath move in through the heart, really opening it up. And in your mind's eye, right there between your brow, we're going to call into your mind that image of your triangle. and the different characters that we're going to speak to today. And first, let's take our manager, the voice that says, we know this isn't good for us. A little bit punitive, this voice usually is. Why are you still doing this? We know better. So let's take that character, and like a stone through water, we're just going to drop it down into your body, letting it glide down into your heart. A heart that is fully supported by the earth. And I want you to imagine on your next breath, we're going to breathe a little life into this part. And we're going to extend an invitation for conversation. And I'm going to have you keep your eyes closed. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I just invite you to answer me whatever comes through for you. Okay? All right. And so we're going to ask this part, what is your name?
This feels stern and harsh.
Stern and harsh. Okay. How do you serve me?
Pushing people away.
You're working hard at that. What are you protecting?
The sadness.
And what is scary about the sadness?
Getting lost in it. Losing myself.
And how old do you think Lonnie is?
6.
Are there things around that age that you think Lonnie should be aware of? I'm going to allow that to be a private conversation between you and Lonnie. All right. And thank you for sharing that with us so that she knows. Is there any guidance that you would like to offer her at this time while you're here in the heart space?
Toughen up. Is what
Toughen up. And that's not easy to toughen up. It's not an easy job. So thank you, stern and harsh, for taking on that job. And we're not going to do any pushing today. We're just going to say thank you. We're going to allow this to be a process of witnessing for today. And so with the next breath, we can let stern and harsh go back to where it needs to go. For now, we know you're there. And returning back into the mind's eye, we're going to return to that image of your triangle. And now we're going to call down the part that feels a little vulnerable, but is still quite powerful, paradoxically. And with the next breath, like a stone through water, we're just going to drop this part down into the heart space where it's safe to have this conversation. And once it's there, you might ask the same question. What is your name? Or what shall I call you?
breezy.
Breezy. What would you like us to know about you, Breezy? Is there anything you want to share?
Like just see through, just
What are some flowy thoughts or images that come to mind? What flows for you or for Breezy?
just like the air. Just there.
Would Breezy like it if maybe you took a deep breath? How did that feel?
Good.
Good. Maybe one more. Take another deep breath. Let it really fill up your heart.
Like, wants to be protected,
Wants
wants to take care of things.
Okay. How might we take care of Breezy?
Asking what she needs. And giving her what she needs.
And Breezy, would you give us some more specifics? What's the first thing that you would need?
Love.
Love. How can we best show you our love?
Hugs.
Hugs. What else?
She wants to feel safe.
Yeah. What makes you feel safe, Breezy?
Being at home. Being with the kids.
Some connection there. Okay. That's okay. Tears let us know Breezy's really here. So we might take a deep breath. Yeah. She's really sad. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to be sad. Sometimes letting it be okay to be sad makes it safe too. You know. Is there any way we can make it safe to be sad for Breezy?
Strong and stern won't let her.
So strong and stern has a lot of power here. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Breezy. Thank you for sharing your experience and letting us know what's going on. That helps a lot. And we're going to continue to listen to you, and we're going to have more conversations about what's going to make you feel safe and loved. Okay? This is just the beginning. So thank you, Breezy. And I invite you to take a breath and to let Breezy go for now. Just going back to where it needs to go. Thank you. And we're going to return up to the mind's eye. And now we're going to access that higher self, your spiritual self, the observing self, the part that knows how to take spaciousness, sees this conversation from above, connects you to a higher power, into an energy field. And we're going to ask that part to drop down like a stone through water, down into your heart space, to take up a little room. Welcome, thank you. Maybe it's a guide. And we're going to give this part of yourself a little time and space to converse with us. And what is your name?
Michael.
Michael. Thank you for joining us, Michael. Is there anything that you would have us know at this time? What would you like to share about yourself?
I'm safe.
Thank you.
I'm protected.
You're safe. I'm protecting you. Michael, is there any guidance you would offer us in working with strong and stern?
Let me be the bigger part.
Let me be the bigger part. Does that feel manageable?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And Michael, what guidance would you offer with working with the other part, the softer part, the breezy?
Let me love her.
And what is the best way that we can do that? Strong and stern stepping in here.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to ask that part to step back, and we're going to let Michael have the floor right now. You might imagine Michael standing next to Breezy. And how does Michael love Breezy?
He holds her.
He holds her. And that was what Breezy needed.
Yes.
Okay.
He has these giant wings. He just envelops her.
So I invite you to take a breath and just let yourself be with that. And to allow yourself to receive that support. And just allowing that to become cell memory, body knowledge, taking a picture of that experience in your mind. Noticing the quality of the feeling so that you can create a blueprint for that and come back to it when you need it. A safe image to return to, a body resource to tap into. Yeah, very good. And thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining us here. We'll come back. We'll speak again. And we can take a breath. And when you exhale, we can let Michael go as well. Thank you. And so I'm going to have you start to notice your breath again. Noticing the most subtle sensations you may be having in this moment as we let this practice go. And noticing the most prominent sensations you may be having in your body. We're going to attend to the contact between your feet and the floor. We're going to keep your roots grounded for today so that you remain grounded throughout the rest of the day. Access whatever support you need. And might take a few more breaths. And I'm going to count backwards from 5 to 1, and then we'll release the practice entirely. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. How are you feeling?
Peaceful.
Yeah, good. So we gleaned a lot of information. Yeah. Is there anything that stands out to you, or that questions you want to ask, or anything like that?
I think, obviously wanting to, I think the part of me, the Michael part of me has been the part that I've tried to been cultivating over the last few years. It's the part that I want to be connected to the most. Yeah, that was amazing.
Okay, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I got so much out of that.
I'm glad you liked that.